Joining us this morning, retired Brigadier General Mark Kimmit. Thank you for being here, as always. So victory, I'm wondering, for Russia in Bakhmut. Could this be a turning point for Vladimir Putin if he can claim control of Bakhmut? Is this enough for him to back out?
Oh, certainly not. I do not think that this is a victory in any significant sense of the word. If anything, it's a Pyrrhic victory. He's lost thousands, if not tens of thousands of soldiers and massive amounts of equipment, taking a relatively insignificant town. And candidly, the cost of taking that town has probably prevented any further on operations that the Russians could take advantage of if they tried to conduct further offensive operations from this point.
I'm curious if Bakhmut has no strategic value, why there's been such a focus there. I mean, it's been one of the bloodiest battles, 6 months and counting. Why both sides are doubling down?
Well, I think for the Russians, they're looking for a victory. They really haven't had any kind of propaganda victory, candidly, since probably 6 months ago when they started losing ground in the September offensive operations by the Ukrainians. So if President Putin needs to convince his people that the war is worth fighting and that they're winning, he can point to this relatively insignificant victory as an example of Russian doing the right thing for their fellow Ukrainians inside of Ukraine.
What might be Russia's next target in Ukraine if they were to gain control of Bakhmut?
Well, it's much like Bastogne was in World War II. It does have a number of key rail intersections and road intersections that if they had the capability, they had the forces and material, they could use those transportation hubs to continue an attack inside of Bakhmut to the west to really try to drive a breakthrough, punch a hole in the defenses of Ukraine. I just don't think they've got the capability to do this, which is why I really don't understand the senseless operation on either side, except to achieve some sort of moral victory.
Right. Talk about the supply lines and where equipment is getting in, some of the strategic areas that Ukraine is setting up for what we continued to hear would be a Russian offensive.
Well, I think the important thing is that Russia is trying to use any opportunity and any routes it has to try to push men and material and logistics into the fight. It will take huge amounts of all three of those items for them to now go from relative static lines, except for in Bakhmut, to actually be able to start pushing forward to conduct any operations in the depth of the Ukrainian lines. They've got about 6 or 7 different ways they can bring this in from Russia. But as I with a little bit of self-promotion here, I said back in November that that's what Ukraine should be concentrating on, using their HIMARS, their artillery, their missiles to knock out those logistics hubs and the routes that can feed the equipment in. So if they've been doing that job, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Russia to bring in enough equipment to conduct a follow-on offensive operation this spring.
It was extremely troubling to see that most recent video of a Ukrainian soldier being executed after he said, "Long live Ukraine," a phrase that we continue to hear over and over again. A new strategy from Russia? Probably not, but to be so obvious and apparent about it, what troubles you about what we saw?
Well, up to this point, there have been allegations of war crimes. There have been allegations of brutal treatment of the citizens, massive amounts of war crimes regarding to the attacking of protected infrastructure. But here's an example that can not only perhaps inspire fellow Russian soldiers to operate outside the rules of war, but in many ways, it's just an example of how the Russians fight these types of wars. Anybody that believes that this was going to be a clean war or this was going to be a war that stayed within the rules of engagement or the laws of land warfare, the Geneva Conventions, I think that picture, that video, demonstrates that that has all gone out the window.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.